Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So this is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Today is Wednesday. Let's talk sisters, y'all, okay? This is a review for season 4, episode 8, okay? The sister, all right? And we pretty much started off where we left, right? They know Karen is pregnant. Finally, okay? And they're basically like, "Are you sure?" Danny says, "Listen, okay, are you keeping it?" They talking about Danny. She's like, "That's a legitimate question." And yes, it is. I'm sorry, but it is. Okay, I guess they're saying, it's a little too soon. Let it sink in for a minute before we start jumping to different questions. But Danny lets them know, "I'm the one that asked the questions that everybody else is scared to ask." And in fact, she is right. Okay, she really is. And I have to say that last week's Danny and this week's Danny is the Danny that I fell in love with from the beginning. I need to see more of this. I was loving every minute of it, okay? And basically Karen says, "Danny, of course I'm going to keep it. But if you guys have not had this conversation before amongst yourselves as friends or whatever, then maybe she's not sure how you feel about it, okay? But now we are all on the same page and we know you want to keep it." Of course, the next question is going to be, who's the father? Okay? Another legitimate question. And I'm hoping that when it comes to this, Karen will be much more honest with her girlfriends than she's been being with Aaron, than she's been being with Zach, and than she's been being with herself, okay? But nonetheless, they basically, are asking her, is she okay? And Danny says, "I ain't gonna be doing no babysitting," because they were saying how this is gonna affect all of them. And they was like, "Danny," and she was like, "I'm just saying." And she was like, "Well, Andy tells her you don't always have to say everything you thinking." And of course, that's when Danny says, "I say the stuff that none of y'all want to say." And so, she continues to pour drinks and have herself a drink. All right. And she just was like, "While I'm at it, the next question is, who's the father?" And like I said, again, another valid question, okay? We ain't got time to play games. Let's spill all the tea and get all this out, all right? And so she was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Daniela has done it again." The crowd goes silent or whatever. And of course, they all just looking at her. And Karen is just like, and so Sabrina even says that is a good question. And so Karen gonna talk about, is Zach baby? Obviously. No, Karen, is not really obvious. And so they, then they like, okay, does he know? She says yes. And so they like, does Aaron know? And she tells them, "I told him to." And so basically they like, okay, that's good. Everybody's kind of trying to let this new information sink in or whatever have you. And, Danny's like, "Well, that sure is something, And they said, "How many weeks are you?" And Karen's still talking about, "I don't know." And then she's like, "Wait." Danny's like, "Wait, what?" She was like, "I ain't been to the doctor yet, so I don't know." And so Danny's like, "Come on, girl. All this drama and all you took was the at-home pregnancy test." She was like, "Those crazy things can be inaccurate. They come up inaccurate a lot of times." And then Sabrina's like, "Sometimes." She was like, "Well, it does happen." And so of course, Karen talking about 3 of them, and then they like, oh, and they all take a sip from their drink or whatever, and she's like, yeah. And so still, Karen, I don't understand why that wasn't the next thing that you did, was go to the doctor, find out how far along you are. Why would you be putting that off? Only God knows. But they basically was like, well, a baby's not a bad thing, and are you sure? Zach basically asking her that again. And she still keeps saying yes. I don't know how she's so sure when she haven't been to the doctor yet. But y'all know how I feel about that already. And so, they basically was like, oh, wow, Fatima's not going to take that well. Did you see her at the grocery store? And of course, at this point, it's like, speak of the devil. Fatima's calling and Andy is saying send her up. And then they like, oh, God, you got her coming here. Do you really think that was a good idea? Andy's basically telling them what we're about to find out, and they all take a sip. At one point they're like, yo, maybe you should call her and say, never mind, don't come. Of course they're talking about how they both carry these guns. in their purse, and they're like, did you see how she reacted when we was at the grocery store? And they was like, well, I don't understand, Karen, why did you want her to come anyway? And at the same time, Danny is saying, let it play out, let it play out, it's too late, she's already in the elevator. And so when they're asking Karen why she wanted her to come, then they're like, oh, I don't know about this feels all wrong. And they're like, I don't have a good feeling about this one. And they're like, Karen, are you sure, that you want to do this because of all the feelings and everything that's going on right now? And then at the same time, Sabrina's like, well, we're all adults. And Danny's like, yeah, we are adults, but some of us are strapped. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, did you check both of these, bitches and make sure that they ain't got nothing? So Andy talking about it's okay, it's okay. And then they was like, we really got to be civil. We got to talk as adults and, be able to communicate, have a civil conversation and things of that nature, which they should be able to. At the end of the day, Zach didn't cheat on Karen with Fatima or anything like that. And so, Karen is telling her, go get your girl. And she's like, okay. And so basically, it's like, well, what is the point of you wanting to bring her here? And she talking about, oh, I want her, to feel what I felt. And, I want to make her feel bad. And I want her to see who she's dealing with. And I didn't really like when Karen said that. And of course, they was assuming, just like I think all of us knew, I definitely knew, that Zach hadn't told her. So this was going to be her way to drop the bombshell. And when she first was even saying to invite her there, I was already saying that Fatima's basically going to come in and be like, yeah, I know, and next, is that all you wanted? And that Karen was going to feel stupid about it. And so anyway, Fatima arrives and she's dressed in all black, okay? She done changed from that blue dress, dressed in all black like the homie. So she was like, oh, you look great, because Fatima comes out like, yo, what is this? I didn't know we was going to be at somebody else's place. She was like, I would have dressed up. She's like, oh, no, you're good. She was like, how are you feeling? She was like, yeah, because you don't need to be scared. There may be some information that's given, and I'm so sorry. I apologize because I wasn't aware of everything that was going on. And so Fatima's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And then you see when Karen say, come on, bring her inside. And, Fatima's just still asking them what's going on. What is this about? And, she was like, well, I want to see you. Come on in, or whatever. And then, Danny's just kind of trying to break the ice. Like, come on, girl, come on in. Can I get your bag for you? And then Fatima like, nah, I got it. She like, well, I'm going to go sit way over here, okay? And so, Fatima's basically like, do somebody want to tell me what the heck is going on? And all Andy keep talking about is, I want to apologize in advance. I would not have invited you. And so you got Karen talking about, well, really, Andy? And she was like, well, you kept me in the dark. And she was like, still Fatima saying, does anybody want to tell me why I'm here? And so, like I said, Karen is like, sure, why don't you come in and sit down? And Fatima basically says she prefers to stand. You got her standing, you got Karen standing, you got Andy standing, and then Sabrina and Danny are sitting, and then Andy says, I'm going to sit too, And so she tells her, I'm pregnant, and, Fatima's like, congratulations. And she was like, bye, Zach. And she was like, okay, yes, girl, he told me already. And everybody was looking shook. And she was like, he did? She was like, yeah, as soon as you told him, he came home and told me. He came straight home and told me, okay? And so she was like, well, what did you say? She's like, what was I supposed to say? And then Danny like, shit, I don't know, kill her, kill him. She was like, no, we weren't exclusive at the time. He didn't owe me nothing. The last time y'all had sex, we wasn't together. So, I just made it clear how I felt, and we put everything on the table. I told him everything, he told me everything. And so, they like, oh, okay. And so here go Karen, well, you shouldn't believe that. And then Fatima says, well, maybe you're right, but maybe he's not telling me everything, she said. But Karen talking about, does he tell you that he called, how much he calls me? I'm like, Karen, why are you lying, girl? So she was like, no, he didn't. Karen gonna talk about, he calls me almost every day. So Fatima was like, well, that's strange to me. And Karen said, why would that be strange? She said, because I have Zach's password, and I can look at it anytime. I've never seen your name pop up. He's never hit his phone, none of that. She's like, oh, well, maybe he has another one. She was like, as a matter of fact, he do, and I have the password to that too. We don't hide nothing from each other. So, of course, she feeling even more stinking. Danny just a down in them drinks the whole time. And so then she gonna tell Fatima to be careful, and Fatima's like, and you're concerned why? And she was like, I'm not concerned, but I do know him very well, and I know the things that he's capable of. And so Fatima says, well, thank you for your concern. And then she gonna talk about not concerned, not concerned. She was like, well, if that, Fatima basically says, if that was the only reason why I was here, I already know about that, and I could go ahead and go. And so Karen talking about when the baby comes, the father will be in his life. Why would you think he wouldn't be? And why would you think that was up to Fatima? That's why I said I never understood. Besides throwing it in her face and feeling like you was going to make her burn and like you was going to tell her something that, Zach didn't already tell her, what would be the purpose of you having her come over to have this discussion? There wouldn't be any other purpose. It was like, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, because you saying when this baby comes, he's going to be a father in his life. Why would Fatima be stopping him? Why would anybody be stopping him? The only one that could stop him from doing that is him, or either you if you wanted to be shiesty, in my opinion. So that just didn't make sense to me. But if it was going to make her feel better, to say all of that, then so be it. And so, of course, Fatima's like, of course, absolutely. She was like, I don't have no issue with that. And so, Karen is saying, I don't want us to have any issues. And, Fatima's like, none. She was like, but 9 months is a long time. And so she was like, well, what does that mean? Basically already jumping to think that it, means it's some kind of threat. But Fatima was like, girl, no. She was like, listen, at the end of the day, me and Zach are still new. We still getting to know each other right now. We think it's going to work, but sometimes things don't work. So who knows what could happen between now and then. She was talking about as far as their relationship goes. But she's like, if we are still together and this baby is his, then at the end of the day, y'all would have to find a way to co-parent. And I would, treat your child the way I would want to treat my own child, or whatever the case may be. And so Danny at one point was like, you're saying this to make her feel better. And, Fatima's like, absolutely not. I don't do that. I'm just saying what's real. And then, Danny's talking about some, oh, well, how his crazy ass is, or whatever the case may be, and it's gonna work, because at the end of the day, you crazy about him and he's crazy about you. And she was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie about that. I am crazy about him and he is crazy about me, So of course they turned around and looking at Danny, for saying that they crazy about each other, and she knows it's gonna work. And so, but I appreciate Danny for keeping it real. And she was like, but we both do think it's going to work, but things do happen. And, maybe you should also get a paternity test. And so, Karen is talking about are you suggesting that I'm lying? She was like, no, but I don't see how it could hurt, right? And so Karen is like, no, it couldn't. And then she's like, okay, good. Basically like that's settled. And so again, she's like, if that's the only reason that I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and head out and let you guys have your little sister circle. And so Karen is like, okay, bye. And then she jumps back up because Andy's like, Karen, Karen, Karen. And then Karen says, look, she was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I have to apologize. And I'm like, what? Karen? And she was like, he doesn't call me. Finally, we get the truth, okay? I just wanted you here because I wanted to hurt you. But it's really no reason for me to hurt you, because I don't even know you. I'm not mad at you. You know what I'm saying? I am mad at him and the things that we went through. And, and it still hurts. You know what I'm saying? And now he's all doing good and wants to be with you. Which we all knew this, but we finally get Karen admitting it. And Fatima tells her, Karen, look, I get it. And, Sabrina says we all do. And she was like, yeah. She was like, look, I've been that woman before. We work so hard to make these damn boys men. We do all of this and struggle with them. And what do? Everything they learn, they take it to the next woman. And she was like, I've been you, basically. I have, And she was like, I don't want to hurt you or try you or none of that foolishness. I wish you the best. And so she was like, and if this is Zach's baby, and Karen again says it is. And she's like, well, if it is his baby, like I said, she would treat that baby good, and she would have nothing but, you know what I'm saying, respect for her. And that's that on that. And so Karen is like, good. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. There's nothing else to be said but that, as far as I'm concerned. And so, like I said, Karen, Jesus, I'm sorry, y'all. Fatima was trying to go ahead and head out. She was like, okay, now that we got all that settled, I'm going to go ahead and go, and y'all be, together with y'all sister circle. And so Danny talking about, well, Fatima, don't leave. You might as well sit and hang with us, okay? You almost family now. You practically family now. That tickled me. But it's true, okay? Grown woman status. That's what I'm talking about. And so, of course, they start making small talk about men and the things that they go through. And at first they was going back and forth with little things about Zach. And they was like, okay, well, let's stay off the Zach conversation. And as far as them talking dirt on men, Danny was saying, okay, Fatima, you can stay out of this one. No, ma'am, you ain't got nothing to say. You good because you got a good one, okay? You got the new Zach. And they all saying how they don't know this person, And she was like, yeah, but I've been doing a lot of patching him up or whatever the case may be. But, they said, yeah, let's just leave that alone. And Karen was saying that this Zach that she got is basically somebody she's never met. And then they all agreeing like, yeah, none of us met him. And then Danny's like, did he really change that much? And then that's when Andy's like, come on, let's just get off this conversation. I'm like, yeah, I bet. But nonetheless, Danny started talking about, listen, y'all want to have some, shots. Y'all want to have some drinks. Y'all want to get high. And Fatima's basically like, now that's what I'm talking about. I'm down for that. She was like, if it's not a problem and y'all don't mind me staying. And they all turn and look at Karen waiting for her to answer, like, and then she's like, yeah, go ahead, And so they go over to where the kitchen area is, and, Danny pulls out a joint. And, they actually was having a good vibe at that point in time. They start talking a little bit about, Danny and the fact that the guy she thought was a sex trafficker was really a cop, and he asked her out on a date. They talking a little bit about, Calvin and how he got into the argument with the guy and when him and Sabrina went out. Of course, they touch a little bit on, Gary being the one that bought Andy this penthouse that they in and bought her the Rolls Royce. And, Fatima's basically like, Andy, girl, look at me. Are you serious? He bought this? Because one thing they can all agree on is that Gary ass is trash, okay? And so, they kind of updating each other on little stuff like, let's get off this subject with all this other stuff. And then Danny is actually telling Karen that, one glass a day of wine is not bad for her. She could go ahead and have that. And Karen hurries up and, pulls it away. And so then we had Jake giving, Zach a call and asking him, is everything okay, and apologizing and saying, he still want to be cool with Zach. He don't got nothing against him. He don't like the way that, Gary was behaving. And he's still asking him questions about, is he sure everything is legit with this, stock, and that he could look into it. And Zach is kind of like, well, why would you want to do that? And he's like, come on, let me help you. If there's information I could give you and if there's ways that I could help you, then I will. And he was like, how about I come over tomorrow? I hope you paint, and then we talk more about this and we go into all the details. And so Zach is like, okay, cool. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a text tomorrow when I'm on my way there. And so, he also was saying, like, it's going to raise eyebrows when you invest a couple of hundreds and you end up with millions. And he was like, the best thing you could do is probably take some of the money out, move some of it, put it into different ones, some that will lose, some that will win, you know what I'm saying? And so he keeps asking him, is it legit? And then, of course, Zach is still saying, yeah, it's legit. He just so happens to bet on the right horse. And so he was like, well, how would I know? How am I supposed to know, like, which ones is good and which ones is bad or whatever? And he was like, you got to have winners or losers. Because at first Zach is like, why would I want to buy losers? And he was like, well, you can't always win. Nobody always wins, okay? Obviously, that would make it look mad obvious, like you having some kind of insider training, going on as well. And so once they say all of that, like I said, he says he's going to hit him up tomorrow. And then you had Fatima coming on and he's like, oh, hey, how everything went? And she was like, I'm fine. It's good. And he was like, I was about to put an APB out on the ass. And she like, nah, I'm good. You know I'm always hold my own. And he's like, oh, you dressed in all black or whatever. So he was like, so how did it go? And she was like, you know what? I really like those girls. And he was like, even Karen? She was like, even Karen. He was like, well, she can be nice sometime when she want to be, you know. And she was like, yeah, she can. And she was like, of course she tried to bring me over there to tell me that you was pregnant, but I already knew about it. And he was like, see, that's why we got to be on the same page, and we got to be telling, you know, everybody, telling each other everything, so nobody can be slick and try to, you know, come in between us and all that other kind of stuff and catch us off guard. And she was basically agreeing with him. And she said, yeah, she did, you know, try to blindside me, but I handled it. And, once we got past that, we was good. And so he was like, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. He was like, unfortunately, you know, things is not so good here. And he was like, what do you know, she's asking him, what do he mean by that? And so he was basically also saying, you know, she not going to end up looking like Hayden, right? And she's laughing like, nah, it's good. So, you know, he starts to tell her about the little slick shit that Gary did. And she's like, well, what do he mean? Where's he going with that? He's like, I don't know. But I know I wasn't trying to play those games with him. I don't trust him. He was like, but Jake did tell me he was going to help me. And she was like, the same Jake that actually works with Gary. And he was like, yeah, but, you know, he doesn't really seem like he's into the same type of stuff as Gary. He's not coming at me in that same type of way. But she's telling him to be careful nonetheless. He's like, look, I don't trust nobody or whatever, and I got this. He was like, I don't need your help. I'm good because I see your face, okay? I see your face. I know what you thinking. Don't do anything, okay? I got this. He was like, it's not going to look good if you got a whole bunch of men in suits lined up on naked on the cars, you know. And so she was like, well, you already know how I roll. He was like, yeah, I know. He was like, I want to keep you on the outside, not on the inside like me. And so they agree that Zach is going to handle it for now. But, you know, if anything goes sideways, you know, Fatima will be all up on that. And she was like, yeah, I'm like a Olivia Pope. I get it handled or whatever. So, you know, you have Gary also calling Zach, and he's basically giving him this fake apology. I do not trust him whatsoever. Like, I don't care what he says or does. I don't trust this man. He's so freaking disgusting to me. You know, we also had, once the girls left from Andy's place, you know, Karen gets a call from Aaron. He's telling her that he checked the calendar and that he can very well possibly be this baby's father. I was like, I know that's right, Aaron. Okay, do your homework. You do have men that be knowing, you know, the time frame that they had sex. It ain't just women that also will keep track of when the woman may have had her menstruation or whatever else. And obviously he was paying attention, and he was like, you keep acting like it's impossible, but there's a very good chance that it could be either one of ours. It could be his or mine. But of course she's still trying to tell him, no, it's not. And he's like, well, did you at least check, you know, when's the doctor's appointment, when you planning on going, things of that nature. She's talking about, I don't know, I didn't make it yet, and getting such an attitude and getting so mad anytime anybody brings up that it could possibly be anybody else's but Zach's. And then you know, he's asking her, did she double check the calendar? And she's like, you know, right now I'm tired and I want to get home, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so basically he's like, listen, if this is my baby, I would want to be in his life. I would love it. I would take care of it. I would take care of you. And he was like, and even basically, you know, if it's not, but I know that there's a chance that it is. So pretty much he wasn't saying too much different than what he already told her when they was face to face. And like I said, at this point, she's telling him that she want to head home. She was actually about to head home, and she was out late with the girls or whatever the case may be. And you know, he was asking her how did it go, and she was like, it went. And he was asking, did she tell them? And she was like, yeah, I told them. And you know, and so she was asking him why he was up so late, and he was like, he was playing ball. And she was like, well, who? And he was like, Gary and Zach. And then she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, yeah, he's a little. And then, you know, he says, yeah, he's a little. She was like, I know. So he gonna say, I can see why you not seeing him anymore. And so he was like, did I say something wrong? Yes, Aaron, you did, because it really wasn't no reason for you and Zach to be having no words. Like, him and Karen's not together no more. That's the end of it. But whatever. And so anyway, with him changing the subject, that's when he got into the test, and the fact that the dates is looking right and that it could be his. And the fact of the matter is, it couldn't. I don't know why, Karen is so insistent on automatically excluding him out and being like, "There's no way that it is his," when really in reality, it definitely could be a possibility. And she's basically saying, well, I'm gonna see the doctor when I make an appointment, with an attitude. It's like, when is that, girl? More than likely probably 5 or 6 episodes from now, but we shall see. Okay, because she don't seem like she in a rush to make this appointment. Then we got Gary leaving Andy a damn video message talking about some, if you put yes or no at the message as far as for him to come over, then he'll know, and he'll come as soon as he get the message. He giving her the tour of the house and bringing her to where, her favorite ice cream is in the damn freezer. And I'm just so freaking annoyed with the whole daggone thing. I'm over Gary, but whatever, okay? And so, he was saying if she pressed this, then he would get the message, that he fixed everything the way that she liked it and the way she told him before. But if it's anything she want changed, he can change it. And all the stuff from her original apartment that was downstairs is now in storage. And so she over here, because of course this is such a hard decision for her to make, as to whether to take Gary back or not. I'm like, girl, bye, whatever. And so, like I said, he also called himself, giving Zach this phone call and apologizing to him as well. Zach is over it as well, too. You already showed him your true colors. Zach is like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, I already told you. I just so happened to make, a good bet. And he, accepts his apology or whatever. But, he's like, I told you I had a hunch. And so, of course, Gary's like, that's a pretty good hunch, my friend. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And so he was like, well, anyway, Jake is supposed to be coming by you. He should be heading by you soon. And so, Zach is just kind of like, copy, I'll talk to you later. He's ready to get off the phone with him. And so, lo and behold, okay, surprise, 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 2 losers together. Here come Hayden hopping his ass into Gary's office, okay, talking about some, what he say. And then Gary is like, nothing. And he's like, okay, well, how the hell is he doing this? And he was like, you know what? Why are you so like worried about this man? What has he done to you? This is what Gary is asking Hayden. He gonna talk about he just don't like people that break the law. And Gary is like you? Or except for you? And then Hayden's like, what is that supposed to mean? And Gary's basically like, whatever, man. You've been watching Andy at work. And he says, yeah. And he was like, is that guy still there? He's like, nah, he back in London. He was like, oh, really? He was like, well, do you know when he's coming back or if he's supposed to come back? He was like, I have no idea. He was like, okay, well, if he does come back, make sure you hit me up. You let me know when he comes back. And so, they basically say, yeah, all right, thanks. And so then as he's getting ready to leave, he was like, yo, what happened to you? Gary is asking Hayden that. And he was like, oh, I told you, I fell off an electric bike. And Gary is like, you sure? Like he don't basically believe him or whatever. And so he was like, what else could have happened to me, man? And then Gary's like, I don't know, man, you tell me. And he was, Hayden is basically saying, look, man, I gotta go. And he was like, all right, just keep an eye on Andy for me. And then Hayden says to him, look, you keep fire on this situation for me, okay? And he was like, I got you. And so obviously he wants Gary to do something with Zach. And so then here comes Jay coming in saying, hey, at one point Gary was telling Jake to help Hayden to his car, but Hayden is like, I don't need help, man. And so Jake says to Gary, I don't trust that guy. I don't like that guy. I never liked that guy. And then, he was like, that's all the good backup you have, And basically he was like, yeah, but you can't trust him. And he said, as much, and then Gary says, as much shit as I have on him. So now I want to know what you got on him, Gary. But, Jake says, oh, so you just basically got him watching your ex. And Gary's talking about, I don't have him watching my ex. He's just keeping me well informed. And then Jake is like, okay, yeah, whatever. And so, of course, he then tells him to give Zach a call and make sure he goes over there. And he's like, yeah, got it. But, Jake, you got good instincts on Hayden. You need to use those same instincts from Gary and get your behind away from him, okay? And so, Jake does go over to Zach, and he's trying to talk to him and figure out, these stocks, and he figures out that obviously he doesn't know, what the hell he's talking about as far as these stocks go. And he's like, you're going to need a lot of training. You're going to need a lot of help. I'm going to have to prepare you for this. And of course, Zach is looking, skeptical. Like, why would you help me? Why would you want to do this and you don't even know me? And Jake is telling him over and over and over that he just thinks he's a good dude and he wants to help him. And for right now, I actually believe Jake. I don't think he knows all the shenanigans that Gary's into. He definitely picked up on the bull crap with Hayden. And I guess time will tell. But for right now, he's telling Zach he wants to help him. At the same time, we had Q come to the bank with Maurice. I honestly don't care about that, guys. I really wish Tyler Perry would kill that whole Q storyline. But as far as Zach is concerned, in the middle of him and Jake talking and saying that they're going to go over everything and he's going to teach, Zach what he needs to know, that same damn cop that was claiming she wasn't a cop pops up and is like, are you Zachary Taylor? And he's like, it depends on who's asking. And then she says whatever her name is and is like, you're under arrest, put your arms behind your back, and came in with 3 officers. Of course, Zach is like, this is crazy, what the hell is going on? And so now we got Zach locked the hell up, y'all. Okay, and so I'm like, is Gary and Hayden behind this? Is this from the stock? What is going on? All right, that is how the episode ended. So, I don't know, y'all. Put it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Did you like this episode? What you think gonna happen next week? Do you think Gary has something to do with this? Do you think Hayden has something to do with this? Do you think this is just from them investigating the stock situation with the FEC? Or do you think it's something completely different that don't have nothing to do with none of this? Put it all in the comments, okay? Let me know what you think. And like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time. Toodaloo.